Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Game News Roundup. As always, this is being live streamed twitch.tv/TrunksWD. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you enjoy it, as always, hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and YouTube algorithm and all that stuff. You know how it is. But anyways, shall we get straight into it? VGChartz estimates. The latest we have is for the week ending October 8th. The biggest thing is that the PS5, the main title of the video, I'm sure I'll set it to. PlayStation 5 has now sold over 24 million units worldwide for the week ending October 8th. So that very first week of October, we've got our estimates at sell-through for the PS5, 24.23 million units. Also, our Switch lifetime, 113.83 million. So the next update should bring in over 114 million. Sold lifetime. Our Series X and S estimates have 17.4 million sold lifetime. So, and breaking down, week ending October 8th, we've got the Switch, PS5, and Series X and S in that order. Switch with 272,000 estimated sales. PS5 at 238,000 estimated, and Xbox Series X and S 171,000 estimated sales. As usual, sales in North America continue to be fairly even, fairly close. I mean, within like 5,000 units of each other. Yeah, within 6,000. Just about almost 91,000 for the PS5, 87,000 for the Switch, 85,000 for the Series X and S. Sales are strong across the board in North America. In Europe, PS5 has been number one for a while now. But we've got 97, almost 100,000 for the PS5 in Europe, 74,000 for the Switch in Europe, and almost 60,000 for the Series X and S in Europe. And then you look at Japan, and as always, the Switch dominates Japan. Like no other console has really dominated a long time any specific, even just specific region. But 62,000 for the Switch in Japan, 5,500 for the PS5, and Series X and S under 1,000. Why? Compared to the previous week, yes, PS5 and Series X and S sales are down quite a bit in Japan. It mainly comes down to stock availability, which was apparently very little. Because Series X and S has been able to sell over 10,000 in a week when there's stocks. PS5 we've seen in the 30s for, 30 plus thousand in a given week when there's enough stock. But obviously with shortages, Sony and Microsoft need to figure out where they should ship their consoles. And any given week, you never know. And going into the weekly article I write up here, we got the usual overview here, actual sales for the week, then lifetime sales, but I like to do a comparison, this gen compared to the last gen. So PS5 compared to the PS4 for the same week, and Xbox Series X and S versus the same week for the Xbox One. PS5 compared to the PS4 sales for the same week, which would be the week ending October 10th, 2015, are actually down by nearly 37,000 units. So gen over gen, PS5 is down over 37,000 units, mainly due to shortages. PS5 has been hard to find. PS4 was very easy to find. And Xbox Series X and S, I know some people say, oh, it's in third place, it's in last place. True. But compared to last gen, even though it might be still in last place, sales are still up way about by over 60,000 units gen over gen. So yeah, Series X and S has sold 171,000 week ending October 8th, and the Xbox One equivalent week and week ending October 10th, 2015, 110,000. So a big jump in sales gen over gen for Xbox. PS5 again being down, but stock shortages. And I would say I would use Switch compared to Wii U, but why would you ever do that comparison? It doesn't even make sense. Even Switch compared to 3DS, it's like there's no comparison between them. But yeah, year-over-year sales. Switch sales are down by almost 600,000 units, minus 68.6% down year-over-year. Why is the Switch down? What seems like an absurd amount after the fact that it's been up week after week after week, year-over-year for the most recent weeks. It's because this week, 1 year ago, the Nintendo Switch OLED model launched, which obviously caused a huge spike in Switch sales for that week, and then it quickly sold out. So, in the coming weeks, the sales should be much closer. You won't be seeing the Switch down by 600,000 units. I mean, I guess maybe if there's really, I don't even know, Black Friday week, because that always causes a big jump. But even then, I doubt it'd be anywhere down nearly that much. Even if it is down a little bit year over year, I don't think it'll be down nearly that much, especially at 68.6%. But year over year, PS5 is up just a hair, about 1%, 2,300 units. And Series X and S is up 33,000 units year over year, 24.3%. Week-on-week sales, Switch sales are up by, basically up by about over 1,000 units week over week. PS5 sales are down nearly 31,000 units. Series X and S sales are also down by nearly 15,000 units. Why are they down? The previous week saw the release of FIFA 23, and there was some more stock available. And another big reason, as I said before, the sales are down. Much lower stock in Japan for the two. Year-to-date sales for 2022, we have our estimated Switch sales at 12.11 million units sold. So far in 2022, PS5 at 7.25 million, and the Series X and S at 6.09 million units. So that is going over the weekly VGChartz estimates for the week ending October 8th. We've got the first two monthly sales comparisons for September are out. I'll have to wait for certain data to come in before I do some of them, but all the data I like to have for Japan is available. Still waiting on some stuff for the US and Europe to come out, but we've got the two Japan monthly sales comparisons that we do. Series X and S versus the 360 in Japan. The Series X and S is still tracking behind the 360 by almost 100,000 units. However, if you look at this graph here, up here above this line is the Series X and S in the lead. Below it is the 360 in the lead. So the lower this is, the more the 360 is in the lead. And as you see, the 360 was over 200,000 ahead. But in recent months, the Series X and S, with its more available stock, other than the most recent week, has been able to shrink the gap to just under 100,000 units. So cut it by more than half in the last, 4 or 5 months. Which, as you can see, this here, you see lifetime sales of the 360. Again, 360, compared to the, say, PlayStation or Nintendo in Japan, it didn't sell well. But it is still the best-selling Xbox ever in Japan with, I forget the exact number, 1.65 million units sold in Japan. And you see the Series X. I guess if it continues with this trajectory, it'll do this and be years ahead. But you never know. Coming in the future, how things are gonna look. You never know. And obviously, this practically deadline over here is the Xbox One, which sold like 116,000 units in Japan. So I was like, yeah, compared to last gen, Series X and S is doing pretty well. And even though it's tracking behind the 360, it has been closing the gap, in recent months. And the other Japan comparison is the Nintendo Switch versus the best-selling video game platform of all time in Japan, the Nintendo DS. Unsurprisingly, the Switch has been tracking behind the DS in Japan. I mean, it was slightly ahead there. It's mainly also because they're not quite launched in line of when they did launch. They're a few months off, because the latest month is September for the Switch. Well, it's the equivalent would be June 2010 for the DS, so they're a few months off from each other. So yeah, at one point, Switch fell about 9 million or so behind the DS, but the gap has shrunk to 4.2 million in recent months, and we'll see. So yeah, the Switch compared to the lifetime DS sales. Again, the DS we have at 32.99 million units. So lifetime in Japan, while we have the Switch is currently 6.58 million units behind lifetime DS sales. It basically comes down to how long is Nintendo going to support the Switch. It's like, is the Switch going to outsell the PS2 and become the best-selling video game platform of all time? Depends how long Nintendo supports it. And when is the Switch successor going to come out? If it comes out, next year, probably not. I personally don't see a Switch 2 or whatever the Switch successor is going to be called until, I'm going to guess March 2024 at the earliest. That's my prediction. Between March 2024 and then March 2025. March 2024, if you don't know, will be 7 years after the launch of the Switch. And then obviously March 2025 will be 8 years. That's what I'm guessing is when we'll see. Also because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is getting DLC through next year. We're seeing Tears of the Kingdom? Is it Breath of the Wild sequel name? I believe it's what it's called. It's coming out next May. And then you would think Nintendo would want a good, strong lineup for the next Nintendo, for the next console, the next platform, whenever it launches. we probably won't see a new Zelda game launch, or at least a new big mainline game. Maybe we'll see a new 3D Mario game. Maybe we'll see Mario Kart 9 finally, or whatever. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, I do see the Switch, as long as Nintendo supports it long enough, to eventually surpass the DS in Japan. So yeah, that is it for the VGChartz figures. But we do have officially reported from GfK data, reported by Games Industry, PlayStation 5 sales have topped 2 million units in the United Kingdom. The PS5 is the 4th fastest selling home console to reach 2 million sold, tying the PS3 with 98 weeks. If you look here, the Wii, number 1 at 57 weeks, PS2, 60 weeks to reach 2 million. PS4, 75 weeks, and you can see the PS5 is tracking well behind the PS4. But you see, yeah, PS5 and PS3 at 98 weeks. Xbox One, 104 weeks. 360, 110 weeks. PS1, 114 weeks. Nintendo Switch, 140 weeks. And the original Xbox, 162 weeks. 10 fastest consoles to reach 10 million units sold. Yes, the Switch, 104. It's crazy to think the Switch is selling gangbusters, but the UK has generally been more of an outlier. It's not that the sales are bad for the Switch in the UK, it's just selling okay. As you see, it's way behind the Wii. But again, the Wii was very front-loaded, and after a few years, Wii sales just started to tank. You know, they say, you know, hit a wall, or hit a cliff and fell off a cliff type of thing. So yeah, and then if you're wondering where the Series X and S is, it's probably going to be around where the 360 is. It's mainly because the stock availability. The Series X and S, Microsoft has confirmed it is the fastest selling Xbox generation of all time. We do know it had been tracking behind the 360 and Xbox One in the US and UK. Well, it's tracking ahead of them in most places, actually. It's just that the Series X and S is available in more places than the Xbox One. Launched in 12 countries. Series X and S launched in like 40 or 50 countries. So Microsoft has to spread out their limited stock into more places. But anyways, so yeah, PS5 sales top 2 million in the UK, tying PS3 at 98 weeks to reach the milestone. If anyone was wondering, where did VGChartz estimates end up? We were 1 week off. I'll admit, we were at 99 weeks to reach 2 million, so I did go ahead and literally I had to adjust about 4,000 units. That's how close we were, about 4,000 units, so it made sure it did hit it in 98 weeks instead of 99. Makes me happy that we're that close. As I always say, VGChartz are estimated based on a limited amount of data, and then adjustments do occur when more data and more sources come out available, and then make our estimates as accurate as possible. But anyways, moving into gaming news, away from sales figures, we've got from Obsidian, co-founder of Obsidian Entertainment, has said he would love to make another Fallout game. If you don't know, Bethesda obviously is the main developer for Fallout, or the most recent Fallout games. But Obsidian Entertainment did develop Fallout New Vegas, which is considered one of the best Fallout games. And if you don't know, Microsoft owns Bethesda as well as Obsidian Entertainment now. Obviously, 5 years ago, they didn't own either of them. So his direct quote, "Of course, if we ever get the opportunity to make another Fallout game, we'd make it. So if they're willing to work with Bethesda, Bethesda's willing to work with them on a new Fallout game, they would love to do it." Mind you, Obsidian is fairly busy with Avowed, Outer Worlds 2. Pentiment is a smaller team game, but that's coming out later this year. And then obviously Grounded did just come out, the full release of Grounded, after being in early access for whatever, it was a year or two. So yeah, Obsidian, there's not even a question of whether or not we would do it. It's just, will the opportunity arise? I hung around at Interplay for probably the next year because I wanted to work on Fallout more. I love Fallout. He had, at some point, we'll start looking into what those next games are going to be, and I would be surprised if Fallout is not on that list. Basically, him looking at what his studio is going to be working on in the future. If we were to do Fallout, it has to tie in with what Bethesda is doing with Fallout and a lot of other things. But I would always personally say, my hope is that before I ride off into the sunset, before he retires, he'd love to make another Fallout game. So yeah, they released 2010's Fallout New Vegas. And this could be good. Bethesda, the main Bethesda team, is currently focused on Starfield, which is coming out early, the first half of 2023. And then after that, they said they're going to go focus on Elder Scrolls 6, which is probably going to take another 3, 4, potentially 5 years after that. So we might not be seeing Elder Scrolls 6 to 2026, 2027, potentially. And then Fallout 5 is after that, which, okay, 2026, 2027, another 4 or 5 years. We're probably talking 2030 at the earliest for Fallout 5. And then with Obsidian, I said they're focused on Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed. But once they get one of those games out and released, and they can start getting a small team working on new, pre-production on a new Fallout game, then maybe, you might see a new Fallout game from Obsidian in 2026, 2027, 3 or 4 years earlier. Would it be Fallout New Vegas 2? I would assume not. It would probably just be some new location. But it's just my speculation. That's why I can see. Well, it would make sense. Bethesda's willing to work with them and vice versa, work with each other. Since they're both under the Xbox umbrella. It would be cool to see. Because I know New Vegas is considered one of the best, if not the best, Fallout game. I always say, it has its issues. It was a bit rushed to release, but, Bethesda games, you think about the Bethesda RPGs, they're known for being a bit buggy. Even though New Vegas was by Obsidian, but they kind of had to rush through development. Moving into other gaming news, G4 TV is shutting down less than a year after relaunch. If you don't know what G4 is, you probably don't live in the U.S. It was a television show focused on gaming from the early 2000s. I want to say it was available. Also had a Ninja Warrior on it. I remember watching Ninja Warrior, X-Play, or Attack of the Show, or I'm trying to remember the other gaming shows they had on it. But it relaunched November 16th, 2021, bringing back some of the shows and some of the hosts from what used to be in the early 2000s, but has apparently been shut down. That's it. Less than a year after its relaunch. It's dead. This is according to a report by Deadline, who obtained a letter to employees from Comcast Spectator Chairman and CEO Dave Scott, and a letter to employees saying G4 TV is getting shut down. This follows after G4 laid off about over 20 employees last month. Many of them are working on video game reviews as well as the TV show X-Play. The relaunch of G4, I believe, was available on normal TV as well as Twitch. And I think they also had Scott, if you know YouTube channel Scott the Waz, he also had re-edited his videos from YouTube to make it good for TV. Make them the right length or whatever he had to do, or maybe edit certain things out. His letter from Dave Scott. Team, as you know, G4 was reintroduced last year to tap into the popularity of gaming. We invested to create the new G4 as an online and TV destination for fans to be entertained, be inspired, and connect with gaming content. Over the past several years, we worked hard to generate that interest in G4, but viewership is low, and the network has not achieved sustainable financial results. This is certainly not what we hoped for, and as a result, we have made the very difficult decision to discontinue G4's operations, effective immediately. This was literally, I believe, yesterday. I know this is disappointing news, and I'm disappointed too. I want to thank you and everyone on G4 team for the hard work and commitment to the network. Our human resources team is reaching out to you to provide you with support, discuss other opportunities that may be available, and answer any questions you may have. And now, another report from the Washington Post. Spoke with employees who remained anonymous due to them being on an NDA. So, apparently they, before this news broke, they apparently discovered that they were locked out of all internal communication services from G4, including Slack and Google Drive, without any explanation. And some of the employees stated some of the popular content creators who went on to G4, demanded rates of $25,000 to $30,000 per day. Apparently, some content creators that were on G4. So G4 and Comcast were paying some content creators $25,000 or $30,000 for a day, per day, when they were asked to appear on G4. That's a lot of money. I'd love to make that type of money. I'd love if my YouTube and Twitch made that type of money in a year, let alone like a day. That's just nuts. That's just crazy. Maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll make that $25,000 to $30,000 in a year with YouTube and Twitch. But I ain't holding my breath after like 10 years of doing YouTube. And then at this point, for those that don't know, I've been streaming. It was just basically just gaming content for 8 years or something at this point. I forget. Is it 20? was 2014, I think, was when I first started on Twitch. It's been a long time going. On and off streaming since then, but, you know, I'm trying to be consistent. 2 days a week. Semi-consistent anyway. But, yeah, G4 getting shut down. But, jeez. That rate, though. 25 to 30. Well, no wonder they weren't sustainable. Paying, it could be the biggest content credit. I don't think I worth that much for a day. My goodness. It's crazy. And yes, I know Activision was always something, but there's just one thing this week. Microsoft's statement in their response to the UK's regulators, yes. The whole link to it and their whole response actually is now available. Basically, they said they have no intention to take Call of Duty away from PlayStation. So the direct quote, Microsoft has no intention to take Call of Duty away from gamers, and indeed, it has publicly committed not to do so. The value of Call of Duty depends on its community of gamers, the majority of whom are on PlayStation. Keeping Call of Duty on PlayStation is therefore a commercial imperative for the Xbox business and the economics of the transaction. As such, Microsoft has offered Sony a contractual commitment to continue supplying it with Call of Duty. I know things have come out that they've promised within a contract to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation several years beyond the current Sony deal with Activision Blizzard for the marketing rights and I think some exclusive content on PlayStation. Now, you might think after several years, then after that, what's going on? You have to remember, Minecraft, still multi-platform after Microsoft acquired them, but I'm fairly certain there's a contract with, I think, probably Nintendo and Sony, whatever, that gets renewed every 3 or 4 years to keep it multi-platform, whatever deal they work out between Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. Again, also look, it's not just also Minecraft. Minecraft Dungeons and the upcoming Minecraft Legends are also on the Switch and PlayStation. So that's probably what I see is going to happen, is every few years they work out a new deal, new contract between eeach other. I could be wrong. That's what I think. That's what this sounds like it'll end up being. Let's see. Oh, yeah. As such, Microsoft has offered Sony a contractual commitment to continue supplying it with Call of Duty on PlayStation consoles, including new releases with feature and content parity. The referral decision fails to explain why, in the CMA's view, Microsoft would make such commitment publicly and privately, which are also reflected in its internal documents, if it had no intention of honoring them. Foreclosure strategies of the type outlined in the referral decision would alienate the Call of Duty gamer base and tarnish both the Call of Duty and Xbox brands, undermining the rationale for the transaction. Basically saying, if they pulled Call of Duty off PlayStation, it would hurt the Call of Duty brand as well as Xbox brand, just making people pissed off that they took Call of Duty away from PlayStation. Microsoft would place at risk significant annual revenue from sales of Call of Duty on PlayStation, as well as substantial revenues from other Xbox games distributed via PlayStation. Microsoft has been clear that it is counting on revenues from the distribution of Activision Blizzard games on Sony PlayStation. Microsoft added, the main plan with Activision Blizzard is to make their games available on Xbox Game Pass and basically say, alright, yes, you can still own Activision Blizzard games on PlayStation for $70, or you get Game Pass on Xbox or your PC or through the cloud. This is what Microsoft is saying. Yeah, Xbox plans to bring Activision Blizzard content to its multi-game subscription, Game Pass. This will benefit gamers, boosting the value of the subscription and expanding access to Activision Blizzard content. Activision Blizzard has not allowed its content to be included in third-party subscriptions in any meaningful way in the past. Again, this increased competition has not been welcomed by the market leader Sony, which has elected to protect its revenues from sales of newly released games rather than offer gamers the choice of accessing them via its subscription, PlayStation Plus. Sony does have PlayStation Plus. Xbox has Game Pass. The biggest difference is that Game Pass has games day and date. The day they come out, they're also available on Game Pass. So Sony generally release them years down the line on PlayStation Plus, or not at all, depending on the releases. But also, the next entry in Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, comes out October 28th. PS5, Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So yeah, that's it for Activision Blizzard stuff for today. We've got 2 showcases that are coming up this week. So if you've seen this far in the future, sorry, these have already happened. This news is already out. But, Silent Hill update. After all these years of rumors, speculation, Konami is actually going to hold a Silent Hill showcase this Wednesday, October 19th. At 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, and 10 p.m. UK time. Also, it is possible a new game in the series is going to be called Silent Hill: A Short Message, which was rated in South Korea last month, potentially, or maybe that's like maybe going to be something else. We'll find out this Wednesday. And also, yeah, new Silent Hill game has been rumored for years. Years. People have been waiting a long time. And another showcase, Resident Evil showcase. This Thursday, October 20th, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. UK time. It'll be live streamed over on Twitch. And the showcase is going to feature information on Resident Evil Village, Gold Edition, so what content will be available in that, as well as the upcoming remake of Resident Evil 4, which I believe is coming out... let me just look. Let me just look this up real quick. Resident Evil 4 remake, it is coming out. This would load... March 24th, 2023. PS5, Series X, and PS4. I think they're skipping Xbox One and PC as well. I'm sorry, coming to PC as well, just skipping Xbox One potentially. It also has support for PSVR 2. So if you end up getting PlayStation VR 2, it'll have some mode for PlayStation VR. Last handful bit of news. Splinter Cell Remake, which was announced December of last year. The director for the remake has left Ubisoft after 11 years. This is according to his LinkedIn. As he said, 11 years is a long time, and summing up in one post is quasi-impossible. But I must say, I've been lucky to work with so many great people over the years and made so many friends. So yeah, I said after more than 11 years at Ubisoft, it's now time for me to go on a new adventure, which likely means the Splinter Cell remake will have a new director at some point soon. So there's not much more to say. In fact, yeah, the directors. We haven't really heard anything from Ubisoft yet on who's going to replace him as the director for the remake. And another thing, Overwatch 2 has surpassed 25 million players in 10 days. This is despite, I'm sure, if anyone who tried playing it launch day or launch weekend had lots of issues getting into games or even connecting to their servers. It wasn't totally on Blizzard. The fact that their servers were getting DDoS and getting absolutely overwhelmed and couldn't handle the DDoS attack. So, yeah, but yeah, 25 million players in 10 days for Overwatch 2. Again, the game is available free to play. Let's see. And God of War Ragnarok PlayStation 5 bundle in a trailer, not even an official announcement like on PlayStation blog, was announced. So you'll get a PlayStation 5, a digital copy of God of War Ragnarok. I'm assuming instead of $500 like for the normal PS5, it'll be like $550 to include the game. Yeah, it's not even like a special looking PS5. It's just a standard PS5 with the Blu-ray drive built in, standard controller. Again, and a digital copy of God of War Ragnarok, despite it being the disc version of the PS5. Although I guess most bundles end up being a digital version. And last bit of news, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales coming to PC November 18th on Steam and Epic Games Store. And if you end up pre-ordering, you get to unlock some content early, including the tracksuit into the Spider-Verse suit, the Gravity Well gadget, and 3 skill points if you pre-order the game. Those are little bonuses you get early access to. Again, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales coming to PC November 18th. And as always, well, Sony has been releasing more and more of the games on PC in the last few years. And PC specs right here, depending on what your specs are for your PC. Minimum recommended, very high. Amazing ray tracing and ultimate ray tracing. Yeah. Trying to think where my computer would be. My GPU is so out of date. I either minimum recommended is my GPU. My CPU, funny enough, is this 900X. My CPU is actually at the max for the ultimate. Yeah, I'm waiting to see. I know NVIDIA's coming out with their new 4000 series GPUs, I believe soonish. I'm waiting to see what AMD has. I'm probably going with AMD for them with the new GPUs. Or their current GPUs will come down in price so much that I'm like, screw it, I'll save money and get a current one. Because the prices will have come down. I don't know. I'll see. But yes, again, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, November 18th on the PC. And I think that's going to do it for the Game News Roundup. As always, if you enjoyed it, hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. And feel free to leave any comments if you have anything to add to any of the gaming news, VGChartz estimates, and whatnot. So, thank you all so much. Thank you so much for watching. See you all at the next Game News Roundup.